when I got super honest with myself and I went, this is not something that gets solved. This is something that I manage. This is something that I'm going to deal with forever. And I need to discuss it with people. I need to have like-minded people to talk to about it. I need to be accountable to Brandy and to the other people in my life. That's when I started to have more success at maintaining it, because there's really not much difference between my mental state now and my mental state then. It's just that I've begun managing it because I've accepted that that is going to be with me forever. Paige Dorian Productions, welcome to the American Glutton Podcast.
Hi, Ethan. Thanks for having me along for this wonderful episode today.
Listen, you know, we've all had resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us have started our lives over. You know, it's not just Monday that's the first day of the rest of your life. It's often January 1st.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's here we are. We find ourselves here again. And for those of us that didn't stay on track or maybe just it's the first and it's that impetus to start new, like how do we do it? Where do we start?
Time to start over.
Yes.
I think something happens, like for me, every time I started a diet again, you know, there was such a physiological thing that would happen to my body when I would stop taking drugs. My skin hurt, my bones hurt, I can't sleep, I can't eat. Suddenly I'm going to the bathroom. I mean, we don't have to get into that, but stuff that had slowed down when I was on drugs is suddenly that aspect's working overtime. I'm running to the bathroom quite a bit. But there's a gloominess, a grayness to life that sets in where you just go like, I cannot experience happiness. I cannot experience pleasure. Nothing. And there's almost a feeling that that it's like a permanent state you've walked into, you know, like some guy in the street flips me off, calls me a fat ass, says something nasty to me. I can feel a rise. And even if I'm angry, I'm well aware this feeling is going to go away. This is not a permanent state that I exist in. The feeling with drug withdrawal feels permanent. It feels like I've ruined myself. I've, you know, there's some aspect of my ability to experience joy is now fully and wholly dependent on drugs. Now here, stay with me because we're not an addiction show. I started to get that when I would start over on a diet. I started to get this gloominess. Like thinking back, I've done a lot of diets, and it's certainly not every diet I've ever done, but later and later in my life, when I would get back onto like keto for the 6th time, or, you know, the HCG diet, which is super low calorie, or the First Personal diet, which, come on, what a fucking faulty advertisement, people. There's nothing personal about that. Me and my wife ate exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I would start to get this gloominess that was very much like I've broken my ability to experience joy. The world is gray. The sunshine kind of hurts your eyes. You're like, stop being so bright. Why are you what's there to be so bright about, son? You know? That fatigue of starting over became so hard to get through. And it would last for days, just days of just, I think it's probably clinically depression, something like that, you know, where you're just like, what's the point of getting out of bed? This day is going to suck.
And how much of it do you think is, you know, we've been pumped, let's say you've been not on a diet, right? And it's the first of the year and you're like, great, I'm going to start. How much of it do you think is the fact that you're not eating the things that, because there's like a physical reaction, right? Where you like it's almost like a withdrawal from the sugar or whatever thing you've been overindulging in. Like how much of it is that? And I don't know. I guess it's different for every person.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like I don't know that I ever experienced like physiological withdrawal symptoms from food. I definitely got hungry and moody, but this more was purely psychological, I think, and it was just like somehow my mind was connecting all these periods of, a loss of that thing, whatever it is that I found joy in is now being removed from my life. The ability to eat to the point where I'm satiated is gone. And it's like, I become Eeyore,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're making me realize like that feeling of hunger is so unpleasant. And when I know for myself, I eat till I can't eat anymore, right? And then you go to like, okay, that's it. I'm restricting what I'm eating. And that feeling of being hungry, it feels like it's going to last forever. How will I ever sustain on these calories? And like, wait, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can imagine very similar to coming off drugs. But yeah, it's because all these things give us, the foods and drugs give us a temporary pleasure. And then we don't have that. So how would you advise, or what is your, what has worked for you on, let's just talk about that initial restriction that we put on ourselves and we go, oh my God, here we are. And it's January 4th or 2nd. Like, what do we do in that moment?
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't want to be Debbie Downer about any of this stuff, right? It's hard, but you can get through it. I think for me, listening to people who have done it and them going like, I promise you it'll get better. It's going to get better. And then, too, what I'm talking about didn't happen so much on rational diets. It happened on really irrational diets. It happened on diets that took me so far into a caloric deficit, 500 calorie a day diets. And I'm even thinking about like the way, have you ever seen a Komodo dragon eat? They just like get something in their mouth and then choke it down. They're not even really chewing. There's no chewing. They have
you see like a big bulge in their neck because they're just swallowing it. Yeah.
They're just swallowing it. And they have teeth. I've heard that Komodo dragons have razor sharp teeth, but it's like more just for tearing chunks off. And then they just get it in their mouth and choke it down. That's how I eat. That I want to just get the food in I was eating even today going like, I didn't chew this. I'm just like trying to actually inhale the food down into my stomach. And then when you're looking at your 3 ounces of chicken, your piece of Melba toast, and your almond, or maybe it's 2 almonds, and that's all you got, that's like one bite. You could put the 3 ounces of chicken on the piece of Melba toast and like crush the almond and use it as a topping. Mm-hmm. And that's literally one bite, or maybe 2 at best. I don't know. It's such a tough spot to be, but I do think that well, first I would just say don't do those diets that put you, those diets are such a waste of time in my opinion.
We're talking about the crazy ones. Can we like expand on that? Like the ones that are 500 calories or
500 calories a day, anything where you go like, I'm going to get everything I need in 2 weeks. I'm just going to suffer for 2 weeks and I'm going to get my goal. Or maybe it's a month or it's a 30-day plan. I think any of those, unless you are legitimately 2 weeks out from a 6-pack, you should never be on a 30-day plan. You should be on, I mean, like changing your daily habits is a smarter thing to do. Changing the way you eat, shop around the periphery of the grocery store instead of the center aisles. Like make those choices. But like, okay, if you're hell bent on doing something crazy January 1st, then you just, it's gonna suck, but it's also going to get better because every time I did a crazy diet, it wasn't miserable the whole time, but the beginning fucking sucks.
Yeah. So then, okay, first rule or first advice is like, let's try not to do those crazy ones. But if someone is hell bent on doing it, it's okay, fine. And then also something you taught me a long time ago and you've spoken about is like, cool, what comes next? Having the plan for what comes next. Because after 12 days of no whatever, and then you're like, now what? And
right. I mean, there's two versions of this, right? There's the version where somebody was trucking along and they just hit the holidays and went off the rails and are kind of coming up for air January 1st and going like, I got to get my life back on track, right? That's a version. The other version is I need to lose 100 pounds. You know, I'm going to do, you know, some liquid shake diet or, you know, what's the master cleanse where you're just drinking cayenne pepper tea, or something psychotic like that. And I'm going to do this for 30 days or 60 days. And that is like, I mean, more than anything, I would just want to encourage people not to do those types of diets.
Yeah.
But like, if you're going to, it's going to suck. I think the more rational thing to encourage is like, okay, you got derailed in the holidays. It's January 1st. No better time to start than the present. Let's get back on the horse, you know? Like, what changes can you make? And they don't have to have all those components we were talking about. It doesn't have to be gloom, you know? It could be adding stuff to your diet. Eating more fruits and vegetables, eating a larger portion of leaner meats instead of the super fatty meats, slowing down. Like I talked about, I'm a Gila monster or a Komodo dragon when I eat. I was that way today, and I was actually standing in my kitchen scarfing down this food right before we recorded. And I was like trying to rationalize it in my head. Well, I got to record with Paige. But then I was like being more honest with myself. No, this is generally the way I eat. I eat like a fucking Komodo dragon. And how would I prefer to eat? I would prefer to take a bite and chew and chew and chew. You know, it doesn't have to turn into a smoothie in your mouth, but I would like to like experience what I'm eating and be present and be aware that, you know, not in some, you know, hippie way of like, I want to thank this food for nurturing my body and sense the macro and micronutrients filling me with energy. Like, it doesn't have to be that, but I want to be like, okay, I'm having my turkey breast, I'm having my veggies, I'm chewing, I'm satisfied, I'm swallowing, I'm present in this moment. You know, I'm not just trying to inhale the food. I literally was trying to inhale the food.
Yeah. I mean, been there. I had it, that happened last week. My sister-in-law was here, holidays, whatever. We'd been out all day and realized we didn't eat lunch, and we had the kids and running around, and we got back here and we just like opened the fridge and just took out all the food. We didn't put it on plates. We just had forks and we're just eating cold food. And we were like, why are we like, yeah, just inhaled it. Like, and then we went, that was crazy. I was like, felt possessed, you know?
Yeah. You can make a plate, you can sit down, you can, you know, be present and mindful if those are the right words to indicate the type of nonsense I'm talking about. But I do think there's something to that. I do think there's something to thinking about what you're eating. You know, for me, it's very helpful when I'm mindlessly eating. You know, I ate my lunch. I could easily eat another lunch. And that's simply because the food hasn't hit the part of my stomach or my intestine that is going to tell the rest of my body, like, you've got food, you're fine.
Yeah, right. Okay, let me ask you this. So let's say it's the beginning of the year. We've established that an ideal thing would be to maybe not do the crazy crash diet, but even if you do, let's be ready for what comes right after that. Okay, fine. So now we're making it through these days with the food, the change in the food. Maybe it's less food, different kinds of food, etc. What about the exercise portion of this where, you know, it's the 30-day shred or the 2-week reset, get back on the thing, you know, like how do we how do we roll into exercise? Let's say we haven't been because it's been a month of holidays, or let's just say that's something we don't do and we want to get started. Like, do we do the diet first and then the exercise? Do we do them concurrently? How to start there?
Yeah. This is another tricky thing. So over the summer, I had lots of time off. And I was like, I'm going to focus on cardio. I'm going to get my cardio back, maybe not quite to where it was 10 years ago, but like I'm going to really put a dent in the fact that I haven't done a lot of cardio for a number of years. And I was super focused, and I was doing these 4 cardio sessions a week. And 2 were so intense that I wasn't doing any resistance training at all on those days. And I got to a point where I beat my time. I did a half a marathon on a rowing machine. That's 21,000 meters in 90 minutes, which is really pretty fast for me, for somebody who just hadn't done cardio in 10 years and then took a couple of months to get back to doing cardio.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got busy. That was at the end of the summer, and I got busy, and I went off and worked, and I was traveling quite a bit. And my cardio fell by the wayside. And when I'd go to the gym, I'd do a little bit of cardio, but nothing like I'd been doing. This week, I was like, I got to get back to my cardio. Starting over on anything is hard. I did 15 minutes on a rowing machine and was like nowhere near going as quick as I was able to do for 90 minutes straight just a couple of months ago. And I blew up, and I was like, I can't do it. Like my heart rate is crazy high. This is way too hard. What's happened? I've ruined my cardio. So then it's like, well, no, I was really diligently working towards something for a long time. And then I stopped, and then it like, my training fell apart. So I can't just go back in day one and expect to have it. I need to add this in little by little to build it up again. And I'm sure it's going to come quicker than it did last time, but it's still going to be a little bit of a work in progress at first. I think like the 30-day shred, again, I think that's for very fit people. You know, if you're already very fit, yeah, in 30 days you could, define your body a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the 30-day anything is like, I think you could reset some habits in 30 days, but I don't think if you have like some image in your head of some drastic change, I don't think you should be aiming at doing anything for 30 days. And then number 2 is, I think exercise is not the right venture for weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
It can complement a diet, but I don't think it should be the primary force behind weight loss. Like, I want to lose, XYZ, however many pounds. I'm going to go to the gym and kill myself every day until I lose it. I think that's a very bad structure for weight loss versus I'm going to figure out a diet which will produce this weight loss, and I'm going to do some exercise which will assist in the diet producing weight loss.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. That does. Okay, so let me ask you this. Sometimes someone will, it's just like you're just going through these holidays and you're thinking, first of the year I'll start. And then you kind of wake up on the first of the year and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? Right. And sometimes you've been thinking about it a little bit and you're like, I guess I'm going to maybe do that diet or thing. Like maybe my question is easily answered with as soon as possible, but when should we really be looking at what are we going to do so that day doesn't, you're juggling Christmas, but like that first of the year is 6 days away. Like it can sneak up on you. And then you cannot be starting something till the 10th. And then you kind of like, I've had experiences over the years with all my ups and downs where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start on the first, and then I don't. And then it's just like, well, I guess it'll be next year, or whatever. When do we start trying to make a plan, and how do we find one?
Yeah, there's something called the Readiness Formula, which I like a lot.
Oh, what's
which I
this?
think in the what?
What is this? I've never heard of it.
This is one of Tom Kyer's, the guy who I learned Kill Your
Yes.
Clone from. He has
Yes.
this formula he does with, and his thing is all combatives, and he's training like tier 1 military dudes, but he does logic courses for them.
Okay.
And one of the things is the Readiness Formula, which is basically like if you have any goal or a mission, you have to, before you're ready, you have to consult your willingness. Like you have to be very realistic. Am I willing to do everything it will require to achieve this goal? Next is awareness. Are you aware of everything you will need to get this goal? And have you thought through anything that could come up that might get in your way? And then number 3 is preparedness. You have to prepare before you're ready. You have to prepare for whatever tools you might need in getting this goal. So you could be in your head going, I'm ready to start January 1st. And all you've done is tell yourself you're ready. I don't think that's all it takes. I think you have to really nail down what your goal is, go through it, make sure that it's very specific. And then are you aware of everything it's going to take? Are you aware of what sustained fat loss over a long period of time actually looks like, how to maintain that, how to go about that in a sustainable way. And then are you prepared to do that? If you're willing and you're aware of everything it takes, but you don't do any prep work, you're going to wake up and you're truly not ready. Have you gone to the store? Have you prepped some meals? Have you written out a menu? Have you thought about, what you're going to need for the day ahead? Do you have what you need? If you're going to start going to the gym, if you're ready to start going to the gym, have you looked at gym memberships? Do you know where the nearest gym is? You know what I mean? Waking up on January 1st and going, I'm ready for a new life. What does that mean? What does that mean? Are you really willing to do everything it's going to take to get that new life? Are you aware of everything it's going to take to get that new life? And are you prepared? Have you done the work? Because there's prep work that needs to be done to do it,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then it's sitting down somewhere around the end of that year and going, okay, so because I'll be like, oh, I'm going to buy a batch of classes at this place I like or whatever. But then I don't go to when am I going to go? I wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that tomorrow, but I can easily fall back into my, oh, I'm busy working. Oh, I'll have to start tomorrow type thing, So
yeah. Brandy wanted to start working out and she talked about it for a good month. I'm going to start working out. And I was like, great. That's great. Would you like to come with me to the gym today? No. I'm going to figure something out. And then it was, it could have happened sooner, but it took her time to figure out what class she liked, schedule the class, and then actually go to the class. And that's just to get a workout in. That's not, she's not trying to, utterly adjust or change her life. She just wants to start working out. But even that requires some work. So I think for me, for the longest time, I would carry around these kind of worded goals, but they're vague, they're ambiguous, they're something like I'll know it when I see it, but I want it so bad. But I'm not doing all the work I need to do to achieve that goal, And then there are other things too where I would connect or attach really nebulous ideas onto the goal. Like, well, when I achieve X, I'll feel better. I'll be happier. I'll be a better dad. I'll be a better husband. And really, none of that is true. None of that is necessarily a byproduct of I lost some weight, because that was always kind of my goal. This idea, I just need to lose weight and then my life will work better. I found that my life could work better without losing weight. And then once my life worked better, I actually was able to achieve weight loss easier.
Mm. Okay. And so what about the aspect of who are we doing this with? Because it can feel, let's say it's not like you and your spouse or you and your partner or you and your bestie like doing something together. What if you're one of the people that is basically feeling as though they're embarking on this by themselves, and we know how much information there is between Googling a diet or this forum or that podcast or go to the class and maybe you make a friend. Like, what if you're feeling alone in it? Like, what are some things one could do to not feel that way for this?
Yeah, I think that there's a ton of options available to people. I don't go to Overeaters Anonymous meetings, but there's that. You could go. You can find other like-minded people that are on a similar journey to you. There are Reddit subposts. There's R Lose It, which is a whole page on Reddit about weight loss where you can talk to people and they'll tell you how they lost weight and how long they've kept it up and what their struggles are and what they found workable and what they found not great. There's Substack. I have a Substack every Monday. I post your progress where I encourage people to talk about how their last week was and what their plans are for the next week. There's all kinds of places where you can find like-minded people to talk about what you're going through with. I think that's vitally important. I think doing it all in your head and only consulting with yourself, and I did this for many years where it was just like me and myself basically having a conversation about what we're going to do, what I'm going to do. That can be really, really tough. So like I enlisted my wife, Brandy, to have certain moments. Like if she sees me going off the deep end with food, she's allowed to pull me back to the present. I gave her permission. Now, I didn't want to make her like my parole officer. She's not policing me because that seemed like not the relationship I wanted to have with somebody constantly like watching me. But if she saw something, I didn't want to have a bad reaction to her going, "Hey, you doing okay?" You know what I mean? I wanted to make it safe for her to do that. So I had to be willing for that to happen and then recruit her to do that. And it happens. It's not often, but we'll go out to dinner. I'll go into some kind of a blackout where I'm just cranking food into my mouth, not paying attention to anybody else at the table. And she'll just touch my arm or something. And I'll go like, or she quite often will kick me under the table. And to be honest with you, her kicks are a little bit ambiguous because sometimes she'll kick me and I'll be like, "I'm talking. What, and she's just like, "Yeah, but later," she'll tell me later, "I didn't like what you were talking about." Or, you don't have to talk about politics with that person, something like this. Her kicks are not always super accurate, but if she puts her hand on my arm while I'm scooping food into my mouth, I know exactly what it means. And I chew a little bit longer and I focus on the other people sitting around the table or her. And I get back into the present moment of like, yeah, I did kind of black out. I am not totally paying attention to anything except getting food into my mouth as fast. It's been super valuable for me to have that with her. But if you don't have a really great wife, or if you have a wife who's just going to like be putting whole pizzas down in front of you, I suggest finding somebody else to be accountable to.
First of all, it's very comforting to know that you still have these moments where you need that, because I think sometimes, we can look at someone who has achieved some level of sustained success in this, and we can think that they're just got it all figured out. So I just think it's nice that you could share those moments because, no matter what, everybody has moments, where they don't want to go to the gym or they're feeling like they need help to not overeat.
Yeah, I don't think, I the first couple of times I got down to like a low body fat percentage, I wanted to very much think of myself as having figured it all out, and that was behind me, and I no longer suffered from this issue of obesity, and I am cured, and let's not talk about it because that was the past and this is the new me, and I'm fixed. But then I gained the weight back every time, which was super mortifying, right? When I remember there was a picture. I think I had just finished Wolf of Wall Street or something, and I was in pretty good shape. I was like pretty fit in that movie. And we went to Hawaii for vacation. And I was playing with Grace, who at the time was probably 6 or 7, on the beach. And some photographer that I didn't see took pictures of me, and they put an article of like, Ethan's packing on the pounds again. Look at him. He's gained weight. And I was so like, it's just a bad angle, but that was when I was like, the before and after was, I was really trying to consider it that I was solved. When I got super honest with myself and I went, this is not something that gets solved. This is something that I manage. This is something that I'm going to deal with forever. And I need to discuss it with people. I need to have like-minded people to talk to about it. I need to be accountable to Brandy and to the other people in my life. That's when I started to have more success at maintaining it, because there's really not much difference between my mental state now and my mental state then. It's just that I've begun managing it because I've accepted that that is going to be with me forever,
Yeah. No, I mean, yes, it is. But I will say, I know you're saying there's no change in your mental state, but what you're describing is a huge change to be able to manage it.
The biggest change is that I am aware that I'm have to manage it, rather than thinking of weight loss as a cure, and that once I lose the weight, there's nothing more to do. That's the biggest change. Yes, and I agree. That is a big change.
Yeah. Not to tell you what to think about your own self. I didn't mean it like that. So, okay, if we talk about all of these, we were talking about all these very important components to the starting again. And we're talking about, in an ideal world, we're not doing a crazy crash diet. What are we trying to do? Like what, there's all if we get down to like a little more nitty gritty, there's all these, calorie counters and everyone's talking about protein. I mean, the amount of memes that I have seen of people making fun of how basically it feels like all we talk about now in life is protein, but like that apparently is a big deal. Like, so where do we start if we're going to try to, okay, I'm going to do a balanced, sustainable, maintainable new plan? How there's all that information. How do we pick?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's more like, what is the broadest view of my life that I want? Can I step as far back from, what I've experienced as the elephant in the room, which is my weight? I want to get as far away from that as possible and go like, what do I want? What am I trying to achieve? Do I just want to run a marathon? Is that it? I want to run a marathon one time, or I want to be a runner. Those are two different things, right? And what is that in service of? What does that do for me? Do I think I'll just feel like a better person if I run a marathon, or am I going to just feel like a better person if I lose weight? I never felt like a better person. And if I did, it was like for 5 minutes, right? And then the rest of the day is spent not feeling exactly the way I did before. And then I'd have another brief moment of like, oh my God, I'm able to shop at a department store. I don't have to shop online or at a big and tall man store. I don't even know if they have big and tall men stores anymore. But when I was a kid, that's where I had to shop. That was like another 5-minute moment of happiness that I got from losing weight. But then that's gone too. Like the minute I walked out of that store, it disappeared and I was kind of depressed. Like, that's it. I just spent money and I have clothes. And yeah, it's cool that I didn't have to, that I could go try on clothes at this normal person's store. That's cool. But it didn't keep me going at all. So I really had to like pull apart, what is it that I'm envisioning for my life? What is it how do I make my life better? And a lot of it was like, am I being of service to people? Am I helping somebody? Am I spending quality time with my kids? When Lily or Clementine bake something and they want me to taste it, am I tasting it? Like, that's a big part of like my life experience that's important to me. It was devastating to me the day that one of them, I think it was Clementine, baked something and she didn't ask me to taste it because she's like, well, you never taste it. You know, that hurt. So being the best father I can be, being the best husband I can be, being the best friend I can be, being the best coworker I can be, doing something in service to humanity, whatever that means for you. I know what it means for me, and I'm trying. These are not broad strokes. You know, I'm not straightening out the, you know, Israel-Palestine conflict or eradicating nuclear weapons, but I am trying to put a positive message out there to mankind. You know, spending quality time with my dog. Can I take my dog on a walk and, you know, not be like, exhausted or annoyed? And I can do that anyway. I can do all those things without losing weight. I can be a better husband. I can be a better father. I can be a better friend. I can be a better coworker. All of that I can do without losing weight. And so putting the burden of that goal on weight loss was backwards for me. And so I really encourage people to take a broad view of what they want. And I would be willing to bet a lot of it is attainable without the necessity of weight loss. And weight loss is cool. I'm not knocking weight loss. Being as healthy as you can possibly be might require some weight loss. But like, that's a far different component than I got to lose this weight because my entire life is going to be in perfect harmony. I think you can reharmonize your life, and then maybe weight loss is a little easier.
Wow, this is quite enlightening to me, because if you get the tunnel vision of if someone has that, which I have had so many times over these years, right? Of just like, it's so, you can make it the most important thing because it's the most, maybe it's like the biggest sore spot for you, if for lack of a better, or the thing you have the most worry about, or, you know what I mean? Because when you're really, I just know for myself, in the past, when I had been really unhappy with my weight, my size, my body, my whatever, it's like I could get so consumed by it. Like, it's just every day could have been that. And I will say, for me, over those last years, especially as a side note, like, that is the one thing that has really remained changed, is that I don't like think it's the worst thing in the world anymore, you know? But like, I'm not like mentally distressed about it anymore, which is so nice. And that's just a side note. But what you're saying is so, I don't know, it's really like a different viewpoint to like go, okay, great, take a step back and look at all these goals you have about being better in all these other areas. It takes the significance away, I think, from just this thing that can be so significant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can. I'm not trying to make less of it. I've been there for a majority of my life where it was just like consumed by it. Like, as you're talking right on this episode, I'm thinking about Brandy and I and all the years of first of the year crazy diets, or just not even first of the year, you know, just anytime, the crazy diets. Which diet are we going to do? Literally, those would be conversations. What diet are we doing? You know, and like, it's just wild, actually, to be at this point in life where it's not, I mean, of course we still think about it and it's a talk and it's, you know, whatever. I don't feel like it comes naturally to me still to want to go to the gym and all that. But when I think about our 20s and our 30s and like just how, oh my God, it was so consuming. So sorry, just to come back around to it, like to hear you talking about just how you guys are now. And I know she's like, I'm on my way to this class, coming back from that one. And just how it's become a regular part of life to be more aware and fit and healthy is really like proof that you can change no matter what point in your life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think so. I believe that. I believe we can change. And I say that while accepting and loving and giving grace to the aspects of me that I think I still have to manage. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
I'm not, this change is not like I flipped a light switch and now it's light in the room where it was dark. This change is very much like, I'm okay. I think it's also the point of view changed, the viewpoint of like, I'm bad, I need to handle this badness. That was a tough spot to succeed in. And, like, I didn't, and I've said this before, like with my kids, saying no to my kids always felt bad. It didn't feel good ever to say no to them. But sometimes you have to say no. You're a shit parent if you never say no, and maybe some gentle parent will take umbrage with this. There's a whole movement of, and fine. So, but that's semantics. If your kid wants to stick their finger in the electrical socket and you're a gentle parent who's not allowed to say no, okay, but are you, after they do it once and they want to do it again, if they are inclined to do it again, are you not going to plug the electrical socket? That's a no, even though you're not using that word, right? It's a no. No, sorry, kid. You don't get to keep shocking yourself. You don't get to juggle knives. So that is a decent thing to do, that no. And so sometimes I have to say no to myself because it's the decent thing to do. It's the kind thing to do. It doesn't mean I'm doing it because I'm bad. It doesn't mean I'm stopping myself from eating something because I'm ashamed of the outcome of eating it. It just means like sometimes I need guardrails, that's the kind thing for myself. That's the decent thing for myself. And that's a different point of view because for the longest time, I just felt hideous and horrible and monstrous. And I needed to cure that. I needed to handle this awful thing. And it wasn't from a place of kindness. It was from a place of punishment. And that was like kind of a vicious cycle of, I'm not going to punish myself well, but I can gently, with compassion and empathy, get better and improve with, small steps by going like, what's the best version of me? And I'm just going to aim for that. But I got to aim for that in every direction, because when I'm narrow-minded and I'm only aiming for weight loss, then that's all my life becomes about. And I start to lose the relationships and the things that are that like in the back of my head, I think I'm doing this all for, the betterment of my family and my friends. I'll be the best version of myself if I lose weight, but I'm only going to focus on weight loss. And suddenly I'm a shit friend. I'm a shit husband. I'm not a very great father. I'm tough at work because I'm fucking hungry. And it's like, what are you doing, dude? You've given up years of your life in pursuit of this idea of some finish line, and it never comes. And when it does, it lasts 5 minutes. And then you go back to, it's like, just be better, be better. And yeah, also focus on weight loss, but that's not the number one priority.
Wow. I really love that. Those are, that's something we could work on every day, not just the beginning of the year, right?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I love it. Okay. So I'm going to take away from this. And I would love everybody who's listening to, write us in your thoughts and questions in this area, because here we are in the beginning of the year and it's time time to really look at this again. If you are one of those people that needs to look at it, there are people that are out there just doing it, and it's great. But it's I'm taking away from this to think about it before the first. I'm taking away from this to not do something crazy. And if you are going to, okay, fine, no judgment there, but let's try to think about a long-term sustainable plan.
Yeah.
And same with the gym. And let's ask for help, and let's look online for, what are some, if it's not your wife.
I also think with the no judgment, I might judge you a little, but I also will be empathetic and say, like, I think sometimes some people have to learn the hard way. Like, you got to go through it in order to know that that's the case, right?
Yeah.
I held out hope that I was going to be the guy that, lost 100 pounds eating 500 calories a day and just miraculously kept it off a couple of times. It wasn't the case. And so if you're stuck in there and you just have to have it now, I get it. But like, come back and listen to this in a year and maybe you'll be ready to hear the message then,
Yeah, 100%. I've definitely been that person multiple times. So there's no doubt. It's because you think like, okay, no, this is the time. This time I'm going to do it.
And by the way, we got fucking magical. Sorry, I've sworn a lot this episode. I apologize for those with sensitive ears.
Doesn't feel that way. I feel like that. I don't think you did. Okay. Anyway, go on.
We have miracle drugs now. And I think what a lot of people are going to find is that these miracle drugs produce some weight loss. And people are going to be like, this is so easy. This is wonderful. And it's just probably not going to get you all the way there. Or life's not going to click in every way that you always thought. All I have to do is lose this many pounds and everything will be wonderful. And I think a lot of people will find there's a bit more work to do. And now maybe that's going to the gym. Maybe that's being a little bit more diligent with what you're eating, because maybe you have the power to do that now. I just don't think that they're the be all end all. I do think there's probably going to be more work to do. And if you lost the however many pounds you needed to lose and you're still like, why haven't I achieved enlightenment? Why don't I feel better? There's still work to do. And so like, I think that this applies to anyone who who has some idea that everything's going to change if they get, blank. I think you could make everything change today by just altering your behavior a little bit.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I appreciate you and everything you shared, as I always say, selfishly. I get so much out of it. So thank you. And here we are. We're starting again and we can do it.
New year, new you.
That's right. Shred it, baby.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Paige.
Thank you. We'll talk next week.
Yes, ma'am.